step out for a second.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and Glendale Housing Authority. May we have roll call for the City Council?
Yes. Council members Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian,
Here.
Kasakian,
Here.
Najarian,
Here.
Mayor Asatrian.
And may we have roll call for the Housing Authority?
Yes. Housing Authority members Ajinian,
Here.
Asadrian, Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian,
Here.
Najarian,
Here.
Farazian,
Here.
Chair Kasakian.
Here.
May we have your report?
Yes, the agenda for Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 joint public meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority was posted on February 28th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And what's the first item, please?
The first item is community development regarding approval to appropriate $376,000 in affordable housing funds in support of Metro Loma Apartments, an affordable housing project located at 328 Mira Loma Avenue, currently in default and under threat of first mortgage foreclosure. A, council motion authorizing release of funds. And B, council resolution of appropriation in the amount of $376,000.
Thank you. Mr. Galanian.
Yes. Authority members, members of City Council, Mike Fortney is going to present this item for your consideration.
So good afternoon, Chair Sakian, Housing Authority Board members, Mayor, and the City Council members. I'm Mike Fortney, Deputy Director of Community Development. So the project, the item before you today is Metro Loma. It's a 9% affordable housing project. It's a 44-unit project. It's been in service since 2009. The city, the Housing Authority, I should say, owns the land, and we lease the land to Metro Loma LP, the limited partner. And it's been operating since 2019. We do have two loans on that property. In second place, we have a loan of low mod funds in amount of, the two loans combined is $4,168,000. That includes low mod and home dollars. The County of Los Angeles is in third place. They have a loan of about $1.472 million. And in first place is the lender, which is California Community Reinvestment Corporation, or CCRC. The original loan amount was $1,890,000. It's currently at about $1.4 million. It was in December of last year, December 11th, where the senior lender, CCRC, informed other lenders and interested parties that Metro Loma Apartments, the manager, they're walking away from the property. They're walking away from a lot of properties they own in California. They're Texas-based, and so they just want to operate in Texas. So what they did was the projects that were operating with a positive cash flow, they sold those properties. And then there was two properties that I know of, one in Glendale and another one in Orange County, where they're operating at a loss. And for those, they just want to walk away in a strategic foreclosure process. So we've been in talks with both the county and CCRC and the lessee / borrower about preserving this affordable housing project. We didn't want to go into the foreclosure process, close on foreclosure, the project goes to market rate, all the people that are living there now, those that couldn't afford market rate rents would be forced to move out. We wanted to be able to prevent all of that from happening. So we've had quite a few conversations with them. The lenders, or the borrower, I should say, stopped making mortgage payments November of last year. And so they're now 5 months behind on making their mortgage payments, and they have no intention of making those payments. So we have been negotiating a cooperation agreement with all parties to try and set the framework for how we can solve this problem short term. But or long term, I should say. In the short term, though, we've identified, and we're asking for up to, I should say, not asking for $376,000, but an up to amount of $376,000 that we can put into the project. And what we're looking to do is pay CCRC the 5 months mortgage that hasn't been paid and then also pay forward 5 months to give us to August to come up with a long-term solution for the project. CCRC also did a capital needs assessment, and there's quite a bit of capital needs the project needs, but there's an immediate need of about $217,000. So we were asking for that amount too. So that's part of the $376,000. That's more than half. I should say though, the project does have several reserve accounts. Some are cash accounts, some are capital replacement accounts, some we can't touch, deposits that tenants have paid. So through this negotiation, we are going to try and use as much reserves the project has in order to fund those immediate capital replacements. So when we last spoke, we had said that CCRC at a staff level had agreed not to start the foreclosure process so long as this is moving forward. However, we met with CCRC a week later, and they had gone to their committee, and the committee had basically directed them to go ahead and start the foreclosure process. So they filed that notice last Monday, a week ago yesterday. So, but we still have, I believe it's 120 days minimum, if not longer, to negotiate a deal and salvage it and prevent it from the foreclosure process from completing. So we are still doing that. So that's why we're here today, to ask for that $376,000. The other thing I would add to that is we have asked the county to participate on a pro rata basis, their loan versus our loan. So their share of this would be about 28%. On a staff level, it sounds like they're supportive of the idea and they are in agreement with the pro rata percentage, but they have not made any official motion or action to verify to us that they are in fact going to finance this. Long term, what we're doing now is, and I'll confirm this with the county this afternoon, but I believe they are doing this independent of our work. But internally, what we're doing is now we're coming up with a pro forma for the project. So now, if this action is approved, our next focus is on not only negotiating short term to make all of this happen, and get assurances from Glendale that all parties are going to negotiate in good faith and that the intent of all parties is to preserve the affordability covenants on this project. But then simultaneously, we are also looking at that long-term solution, looking at the cash flow, looking at the cost of the project. And I'll put together a pro forma for the project. Again, I'll confirm that the county, I believe, is doing that independently, and then we'll compare notes and make sure that this is a project that can be saved. My gut says it can, but I can't say for certain without really running the numbers. So we have audited financial statements as a basis to go on, and then I need to dive into those numbers a little bit better and actually get Novogradac, who audits those statements, to help explain some of the costs, some of the expenses that they outline, and whether or not those are legitimate expenses moving forward or not. I think that covers it. I'm, of course, more than happy to answer any questions I can.
Before we move on, I tried to raise my hand, but it's asking me a code for my iPad. I know Councilmember Kasakian is in line to go, but I need a password to my device, please.
My only question, so I have a few. One is, so can we just state it in as plain terms as possible, Mr. Fortney? So if this project is foreclosed on, what happens to the people who are living there currently in subsidized units, low rent units, who've been relying on those units for housing?
Right. So worst case scenario, the project goes to market, which would mean the rents would then be market rate rents, not affordable rents. So there's a lot of people in the project. You know, the rents now target between 30% and 60% area median income. So a lot of the residents would not be able to pay for it. Over time, there are residents in the building, upwards of 19 households, that actually make substantially more than 60, even 80, even 100% AMI. So there are folks in the building that potentially could stay, but I would say more than half would have to find somewhere else more affordable to live.
So we're looking at displacement and potential people being literally left out on the streets.
Yeah,
We don't take
25
this action.
households.
And then
Maybe
my
more.
second So my second question is, I support the staff's proposed action and the resolution of appropriation. My other question to you is, have we anticipated how many other properties could end up falling into a similar situation as the Metro Loma apartments?
I really appreciate the question. What I've done is I've asked staff to get audited financial statements for the last 3 years on every product in our portfolio. And so we're looking, as they come in, I believe we've got 7 projects where we have at least one audited financial statement. As they come in, we're reviewing those to see if they are operating on net cash flow. So we're identifying that to see if there's any other looming problem.
Thank you, Mr. Fortney, Madam Mayor, and colleagues. Those are my concerns. I'm willing and happy to support lending a lifeline to this project to help the people who live in those units, but I want to make sure that whatever we do, we are not back doing it for almost every other property in the city. Certainly things didn't go as planned when this project was approved and managed as it was, but maybe we'll be able to help it in some way.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, and again, we are reviewing all the financial statements. This deal was done differently than a lot of the deals that we do now. The interest rate on our residual receipts loans, for one, is an example, much higher than what we normally do. I'm confident in the projects that we've recently constructed of their well-being financially, but we'll take a look at the others.
All right, thank you.
A couple of questions, Mr. Fortney. You mentioned that this project is in, they filed the foreclosure process already, am I correct? And if we don't do anything, it gets foreclosed, what happens to it? It goes back to the lender and may go back to open market as a market rate project, am I correct or am I wrong?
It's my understanding, and the city attorney, of course, can weigh in, please, but it's my understanding that it would be sold, the loans, depending on how much it's sold for, CCRC would be first to get their money back, the 1.4 million in outstanding, and then Glendale would be next if the sales proceeds were sufficient, and then the county.
Yeah.
Any surplus funds beyond that, I don't know where that would go, if that would go to the original borrower, but it would go to a market rate purchaser.
Yeah, because I received a couple of phone calls today asking why are we bailing out the operator, and I told them that we're not bailing out the operator, we're trying to protect our assets because we purchased the land and we gave them the land to develop this site. And if we don't do anything, there's a big chance that this may go back to, be sold in an auction, and then what happens after that, no one knows. So if we take over later, what is our liability? Is it that $1.4 million first loan,
CCRC?
CCRC?
So, and that's a great question also, thank you, I appreciate it. Just from the numbers that I have run, there is no way this product's financially feasible if CCRC, that 1.4 million, isn't paid off. We're not going to get a developer to step in with that loan in place. And I'm sure our loans are going to have to be adjusted, whether it just be simply the interest rates, which are really high compared to what we would normally charge, and anything else to make it financially feasible. But that 1.4 million is going to have to be paid.
So there is, I read through the report quickly, is a one bedroom, 29 two bedrooms, and 13 three bedrooms. I know the rents are kind of very, very low in this development. And I think what we need to do for sure is to audit their books, as you mentioned, because their 5 months payment is $66,000, which is, I don't know, $12,000, $13,000 a month.
$13,200.
Yeah, and if they cannot afford paying $13,000 a month, I know they don't pay for property tax either, right?
They are actually paying a small amount, yes.
Right, and I know the insurances went up, on every property, and that has an effect, but at the end of the day, with 44 units, I don't care how low the rents are, you have to be able to at least manage this property and pay the mortgage. And if they're not able to pay $12,000 or $13,000 a month, there is a problem in here, and we have to find out what that is, because the next operator, whoever is that entity going to be, has to face the same issues. So Is that part of our plan to audit all of their books and find out what's going on with, why are they behind on their payments?
Audited, not necessarily. They do get audited annually. Novogradac audited some of the statements. But we are going to go through them, and I'm going to question every cost, every assumption, every line item.
And meanwhile, who's going to manage this project?
Right. When we first started talking to CCRC, our desire was to bring in a affordable housing developer that wouldn't come in necessarily to own it. You couldn't get anybody to own the property until all of this is straightened out, but to manage the property. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the time. So there's going to be a receiver appointed, and that receiver is going to have to manage it until we've gotten through this process.
Receiver from CCRC.
I believe it's the court that assigns the receiver.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we need to do everything we can to save this project, because if you want to go out and purchase a land and build 44 units today, God, we all know what the cost is going to be. So it's an unfortunate situation, but we have to.
Yes. You brought up a point. I don't know if I made it before, but I did want to say our average across our portfolio, our average subsidy per unit is about $144,000 per unit. On this particular project, I believe it's at about $118,000 a unit. So with this amount of money, and I want to say with the 1.4 million, if we wound up, we would be at our average. So yeah, it's much more cost effective to save this project versus putting the money into a new project.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Question?
Yes.
Question. Michael, I think that this is the only property we have with them. Am I right?
Where CCRC is, or where?
The Wentwood and the...
Yes, yes. Mhm.
The
This is
only
the only project. Mhm.
Okay,
That's right.
thank you.
Right.
Just quick, I really only have one thing, but I do want to say to anybody who might be watching that the reason you might not hear a lot of questions from us, and we're making a decision based on this brief presentation, is we have discussed this 3 or 4 times, maybe, or 2 or 3 times in closed session. So we've all had plenty of opportunity to get into the weeds, so to speak. So just if anybody's curious about that. But I do have a question about residents, and it's a general question, I guess. It's residents who come into these projects, let's say at low income, and then their incomes improve, like you say some have, and if they were applying today, they wouldn't qualify as low income. Maybe they'd be moderate income, or maybe they would not even qualify for affordable housing. How do we handle that, both in this situation and generally?
This situation and generally, I guess, yeah, there's really not any difference. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to force a tenant to move out because their income has gone up. I wish Pam Jackson, my housing coordinator, were here. She would be better versed, better able to answer this question, but it's difficult, especially in a tax credit project because of the rules that they have.
How about just reclassifying from one income tier to another? Is that something that we can do rather than kick somebody out? I mean, if somebody comes in at very low income and now they're low income, or they come in at low income and now they're moderate, are we able to kind of reassess based on their current income and judge that, yeah, you should be in the next higher tier and you should be able to support a higher rent payment than you were before?
Let me get back to you on that. Let me see what we can do, because I've asked the question before. Can we, if somebody's making 120, 130% area median income, they started out at maybe 40% and they qualified with the unit, but if they're exceeding 120, 130% AMI, can we not charge that household market rate rents? We would lose our affordability count, right? We would lose that unit because it's no longer affordable at 40, 50, 60% AMI. But what our options are entirely, I'm not 100% clear. I'll have to get back to you on it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other? Okay. I obviously support it. I think the questions that I had, my colleagues already asked. And I did want to apologize to everyone for stepping out. There seems to be a smell in the room that's making me very lightheaded. I felt like I was going to pass out. So,
Mayor?
well, do I have a?
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Oh wait, there's a card.
We do have two public comments.
Okay.
The first is by Alex Balekian. You have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am here to tell the City Council and the people listening at home that this is a bailout using our tax money for a for-profit company that has intentionally walked away from their debts, is leaving the California market, and this is just part and parcel of these failed affordable housing projects that we keep pushing through. So let me just break it down in simple terms, okay? So Metro Loma is a shell company for a larger company. So you asked, is this the only one? This is a single asset entity. So there are multiple other smaller shell companies that might be in this exact situation. But they first owe $1.4 million to the bank, then they owe $4.2 million to Glendale, then they owe $1.5 million to the county. This $376,000 isn't to pay down the $1.4 million. There are $200,000 worth of repairs that were not done. When you own a property and you don't do repairs, you are called a slumlord, okay? These people aren't going bankrupt. They are leaving California, and we taxpayers are being asked to pick up their debt, and that is unconscionable. So I have a few news articles here from 2007. Glendale City, it says Glendale City officials approve the creation of an affordable housing facility on Mira Loma Avenue. The city will subsidize roughly $5 million of the $19.3 million project. So that's first. We spent $5 million to build this. Then, fast forward to 2011, Glendale officials have filed a lawsuit seeking repayment from a developer that allegedly built the city out of millions in construction overcharges. Glendale paid the developer ADI roughly $34 million since 2005. ADI was the managing partner of Metro Loma LP when they started, okay? But the more salacious part in this Glendale News article says, LA Times investigation last year found that ADI and its subcontractors had given more than $100,000 to the top 4 candidates in the 2009 Glendale City Council election. We are starting to sound like Huntington Park here. So my question to you is, how do you justify burning hundreds of thousands of our dollars, more of our dollars, on this dumpster fire that the city of Glendale created? You call it affordable housing, but who's it affordable for? Okay, your brief and the city council says the default is due to increased costs. An example is property insurance, which has nearly tripled in the past 5 years. We know all of our property insurance has tripled. What you forgot to mention was that the city of Glendale also increased the electricity rates on everybody by 40%. They increased the garbage rates 400%. This quagmire has been created by the city of Glendale. It is an embarrassment because you stand to lose a parcel to the bank, and you are using our money to hide that, to cover it up and sweep it under the rug. So I am here to expose this fraud, and I'm here to tell all of you we are sick and tired of you all wasting our money, and you should not do this and let this fire burn, because it's going to be unsustainable otherwise. Thank you.
Not sure
Next.
We have another public comment, someone online. Fernando Roldan, you're on air. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the Joint City Council and Housing Authority. I have to agree with the last gentleman. The thing is, we cannot be wasting money like that or be a little disorganized. I mean, I'm going to say it before and I'll say it again. Glendale needs to be organized. And my feeling is I'm more worried about the seniors and maybe possibly people with disabilities that live there. And I don't want anything to happen to those people. I mean, because those people deserve to live there. If they're paying rent, great. If not, then they need a lot more help, or they may need help from DPSS or Social Security. But the point is, we need to be a little bit more mindful about this. And whatever you folks vote on today, make the right one, because really, I'm more concerned about those with physical, mental limitations and seniors. Thank you, and that's my 2 cents on that, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and that is all.
Okay.
Councilmember Kasakian, I think you were.
Sure. Before I do, I just want to say that before Mr. Balakian decides to cherry pick which meetings and items he wishes to come and speak on, to take into consideration that, when we are faced with difficult choices to raise, whether it's utility rates or others, we don't take those decisions lightly. And everyone here in this room, along with every resident who's at home watching, or I'm sure will be watching at some point on Instagram when this has been edited and cut and put out of context and thrown up on YouTube or whatever other platform, should know that our utilities, we charge the precise amount that it costs to provide those services and not more to the residents. In terms of trying to tie that to the situation that this project finds itself in, I think is somewhat misleading, because the rising utility rates are certainly not the reason for how the project was mismanaged and where it finds itself today. To say that we should let it burn in such a callous way, when there are actual families, people, individuals who are living here and who rely on this for them to be able to have a roof over their heads, is not a solution that I think that any of us here around this dais are interested in. We don't make this decision lightly. We do it because it impacts people's lives who we have a responsibility to serve. So with that, I'll make the motion to authorize the release of funds and the resolution to appropriate the amount of $376,000.
And I'll second that motion.
Right, roll call.
Council members Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Asadarian.
Yes. Next item. Oh, wait.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, stand adjourned.
We need to adjourn the Housing Authority as well.
Is there a motion to adjourn Housing
Yeah, I'll
Authority?
move to adjourn for housing.
And who second that?
I'll second it.
All right,
I'll
we're
second the
adjourned for
housing.
Housing Authority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, get in touch with Jack. Call him up.
No, I guess.
You guys know?
All right, we're on. Welcome to the special meeting of the Glendale. Is it a special meeting or is it regular already? No, it's regular.
Full session.
Yeah, so regular meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have roll call?
Yes, council members Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian,
Here.
Kasakian,
Here.
Najarian,
Here.
Mayor Asadarian.
Here. And may we have your report?
I will read the closed session items into the record. Item A, conference with legal counsel, Najarian versus City of Glendale and claim of Najarian. Item B, conference with legal counsel, Sarian versus City of Glendale. C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, one potential case. D, conference with real property negotiators, discussion of potential lease of city-owned property at 1401 North Verdugo Road. E, conference with real property negotiators, discussion of potential sale of city-owned property at 210 North Orange Street. F, public employee appointment, Director of Library, Arts, and Culture. G, conference with real property negotiators, discussion of potential acquisition of property at 1000 South Central Avenue. H, conference with real property negotiators, discussion of potential acquisition of properties on Glendale Avenue and Everett Avenue owned by Gateway Hospital and Mental Health Center.
Okay. All right, we'll recess the closed session.
Just for the record, we anticipate reporting on item 1F.
It's not me. It's not me.
I literally
I
thought I was
use
going
Old
to pass
Spice.
out on this dais.